Good afternoon and welcome to the Scheduled Classes for Advisors, our 5th webinar. In the webinar today we have Ross Nolan from the Student Records team and Christina Gagatan from the Advising team. We also have Lisa Feldman, the Training Team Lead, Bob Aris, the Training Team Lead, and assisting was Tamara Lawson from the Training Team and myself, Janet Guastavino, also from the Training Team. Our agenda for today is an overview of the SIS project, followed by the overview of Go Lives 5.0 through 5.7, a view of the schedule of classes pages, and we'll follow that up by taking your questions.
Before we begin, when you want to ask a question, as you may have figured out, click on the question text box on the right side of the screen and type in your question. I want to acknowledge that when we were using BlueJeans, you could see each other's questions. And now that we've switched to GoToMeeting, you can't. We would love for everyone to see each other's questions, but we made the trade-off of having a higher quality recording so that people who are coming back later to watch this could actually see the screenshots a little better. So that's the trade-off we've made. So we look forward to your questions in the question box. So as we always do at the beginning, this is Lisa Feldman, we review where we are on the project. And right now, until now, we have had 4 go-lives. The dates across the top are the months of our go-lives. And as you can see vertically, we've got our the different aspects of campus that are impacted. We had our most recent go-live on Monday. That is the big one in March. And in that one, we rolled out many things, including, until now, we've only been impacting students who are being admitted for the fall of 2016. On Monday, we rolled out to the whole campus, including enrollment. And what we're going to go over today is the schedule of classes aspect of enrollment. So really, for this go live and for the phases of this go live, there are a bunch of things that you need to learn. And I wanted to review it so you can see how we've gone through these topics and when we're going to be going over them with you. So we've gone, in various webinars, we've gone through viewing as a student, assigning advisees, placing and removing holds, as well as the student experience of enrollment and undergraduate onboarding. Viewing the schedule of class, which actually the schedule of classes goes live on Monday, but we are going to go over it today, and then tomorrow we have a webinar on running reports on students, using our reporting center. Later on we'll go over the e-form and the transfer credit report. And many people want to know how Go Live 5, how all of these changes will be communicated to students and faculty. We have a Cal message that went out. We've got flyers, postcard distribution. We've got a new website at sis.berkeley.edu that we are directing people towards, and we're working with the Academic Senate. I'm going to go over some quick lingo. Campus Solutions versus Cal Central. Campus Solutions is the back-end product, the PeopleSoft product that manages the data and processes of this system. We sometimes abbreviate it as CS. Cal Central is the student portal, which is also now, as of this go live, the advisor portal for the SIS project, and it is a website. The other piece of lingo I want to clarify is Cal Student Central versus Cal Central. Cal Central, as I just said, is the portal. Cal Student Central is the place on the first floor of Sprawl where primarily undergraduate students go or email to or call to get help with their enrollment and their financial aid and any challenges they have navigating systems on campus.
All right, so without further ado, we have Ross Nolan and Christina Gagatan presenting the schedule of classes.
So as you see here in the Cal Central dashboard, the My Dashboard, the first thing you see in Cal Central. On the far right, the advising resources are different links to different resources that are available to you. And I'm going to be going to the class search to show which all the different things that you can see there and what a scheduler would see as well when they're setting up their classes. So hopefully this won't take long to load this. So you see it's a very simple way to look at all the schedule of classes. First, you'll notice that there are a lot of terms right here that you'll have to pay attention to make sure you're looking at the correct term when looking for classes. So we'll move down to fall 16. And then you'll be picking then subject, whatever subject you might be interested in, that you might be looking for. So let's pick biology. You can find a course number, or whatever the catalog number of the class. So it can be contains, greater than, equal to, exact, less than or equal to, or just the career. I just want to see just the undergrad classes, whether they're open classes or not, if they're just waitlisted or closed. And then if you want to, you can get a very specific searches by filling in the values below of when it meets, days of the week, time, when instructor is teaching that class, the class number, you might know that currently as a CCN in CS, it's known as the class number. Keywords on the course, units, course components, so that would be seeing if it's a lecture, discussion, laboratory, lecture, which sessions being offered, the mode of instruction, was in-person, web-based, or the location, but most of the time we won't be using that because we'll be at the UC Berkeley main campus. So I will do this simple search, just undergrad biology. You'll see it'll take a little bit, and anytime a search can be over 50 classes, it'll just give you this warning that it's going to be a long list of classes. And once I just hit OK, you'll see that all the classes now are listed there, each section, the class number, the lecture. If you click on these links, it will go to the information on that particular class and give you a little more specific details, instructors, where, when it's being offered, any other information on the class, and the status of any of the, if it's combined or other aspects of the class to pay attention to. And on the right, you'll see that there's different values. So you'll see the status. Most of these are open right now, and whether they're open, closed, or waitlisted will show depending on the status of the enrollment of that class section. We'll see that there's first listed wherever the lecture, and then any other what we know is secondary or non-enrollment components in campus solutions listed out. And you can always do select a new search or modify that search to narrow down your list there. I'm going to return to the dashboard. And so at the very top on this, at the very top, there's always a button when you're going away from these links to Campus Solutions. There'll be a link to go back to Cal Central. And now we're going to the schedule view. So this is where the detailed view of the schedule classes will be, as this is what you'll initially have access to when clicking on this link. The other view will be coming later, but it's has a similar kind of different items to search by class, but you'll just have a little more granularity as well as ways to go about looking these different classes up. first thing you'll always need is the term. So notice when I hover over this magnifying glass, you'll see lookup term. Now we'll bring up the list of different terms. We'll have to pick the term you're looking for. There's a certain code for, this is the code for fall 2016. If you start using these pages a lot, you'll get to know what that code stands for, but you'll notice that the first 3 digits look like the year minus the 0, and the last is used as for the different terms, 2 for spring, 5 for summer, 8 for fall. And then if I pick the same biology, if I start typing in, you'll see that it automatically comes down with options here. All the ones that say data conversion will be going away soon, but as part of the initial project of getting all this information into the system. So those will be a lot shorter list. And I will just stop right there, but you can keep adding different information like undergraduate and specific information like the catalog number. You also use, if you're looking for certain values, different ways to find specifically what you're looking for. Begins, contains with, higher, lower than, but I will just do a simple search like that. And if I find that same biology 1A, it will load now the full information on this class. So this is everything about all the class sections of biology 1A. The basic information across the whole, this course is right at the top here. And then it has information on each class section. So there's 27 sections of this. You notice there's 1 in 27. I'm only looking at the first one. So to see the other ones, you have to click through right or left to find the different information. So now I'm looking at the second lecture. So I still see that this is the primary or the enrollment section. So this is the one that a student would actually enroll into. And I also noticed that this lecture will not show up on the schedule of classes. You'll see that is not schedule print is not selected. But if I go back to this first lecture, you notice that this one is. So this is the one that would be showing up to students. Most of the other information schedulers would be paying attention to and filling in, and won't be generally too necessary for advisor or students to know about. And at the bottom here, you might see some attributes to this class, including whether it has a breadth requirement associated to this specific class, or any other kind of attributes along those lines. Now that, so this is just, as you can see in the first tab, the basic data. If I go to the next tab, meetings, this will show me the information of when this is meeting, where this class is going to be, the meeting pattern, so the start and end time, the days of the week, and the period that it's going to be. So if it's any special, so this will run the full fall semester. Then after that, I can see which instructors are teaching that, and the information along what kind of roles they are. If this is just for use for Caesar, if you ever have to know about that. So this is just pretty simple information along those lines. Next one, our enrollment control tab, is where you might start having to pay attention to know what's going on with the enrollment of this class. So whether this class is active, so whether students can enroll, if it's a canceled section or the enrollment has stopped completely on this section, whether there's add or drop consent, so whether department and instructor consent is needed to enroll into the class, and whether the auto-enroll waitlist is selected. So if the waitlist is being used, basically the system is looking to use the waitlist or not. So, and then most importantly, the enrollment capacity. so how much room there is for enrollment and the waitlist capacity. So with this section, there's 527 spots or seats available in this section, and there's no wait list. But next to it, you'll see a total. Right now, you'll see the 0 listed. Those are what's actually enrolled in. So whether the students are enrolled in, so 0, right now there's 0 students enrolled and 0 students on the wait list. But once enrollment starts, that's where you would see those numbers of the numbers and how many spots are left in enrollment and the wait list. Notice from the first screen, I saw that 1 to 27. In each of these tabs, you'll keep seeing those different rows. So I can scroll on to other sections and see the information on those as well to see if there's the specific section that I might be looking into. I can quickly go back to the first section. And then, so this is the overall enrollment in the class, and this reserve capacity tab would be very helpful for anything that has what's called reserve capacity on a class. So whether there's a certain number of spots that have been saved for a group of students. There's a long list, that's a growing list of what those requirement groups could be, whether that's freshmen or they're just 1 to 2 in attendance or a different major, minor. It's a very extensive list that's going to keep expanding as needed to find groups, to basically select different groups of students. The freshmen only, and you'll see those are by number of units. So it's actually a student with less than 30 units. But 1 to 2 terms in attendance actually is how many terms they've been here at Berkeley. So this would be true freshmen. So if a freshman comes in with 31 units already through AP and college work of some sort, they wouldn't be a freshman, they'd be a sophomore, but they would be in the 1 to 2 terms in attendance because that's the amount of terms they've actually been at Berkeley.
Can I interrupt with a question?
Please.
So while we're on this screen, we got the question, will students see all this info or just the advisors?
So the level of detail here is just for staff on these screens, the amount of information, but specifically on the reserve capacity, I will have showed Christina that she can answer that about the schedule planner and what would show up there.
So yes, the plan is to show the reserve capacity to students as part of Schedule Planner functionality, and Schedule Planner is the tool that's replacing the Schedule Builder.
Okay. So there can be multiple reserve capacities on a class. Just like there was for multiple sections, there could be multiple rows here on the reserve capacity. So if I add another row, I can view all of them just by hitting that View All button and see if there was a reserve capacity for freshmen only and for, let's find me, 5 to 6 terms in attendance. We'd also need to pay attention to how many spots are being saved for these different groups, and when those go into effect. So these can start at a certain time, and also based on how they use dates, decide by the end of phase 1, I don't need this group anymore, and this is really the schedulers and enrollment managers that be setting this up. But as an advisor, if you need to see that it started that there's 10 spots for only freshmen, but by phase 2, those spots are going away, then you would know that in phase 2, those spots will be opening up to any student, and they don't have to fit that reserve capacity. And And I can see here that those, if I set up just like this, that those 10 spots for freshmen would be going away for this class. But right now, there's 5 to 6 terms and attendance spots, because there's no other row here, would stay on the class the whole time. And those spots would only be for those students that actually met that requirement group. Next tab of notes. If there's any specific notes on the class that and that could range wherever is decided by the department or the scheduler to be put on there. So it could be, it's an open area for information about that specific class section. And then lastly, the exam tab is where you'll see when the final exams are scheduled. They will be put here of date and time, and then where they are located. Some departments also might use this area for midterms in the evening, so that they would actually have not only their time, but also the location right in the system, so it would also show up on a student's schedule. Because once a student is enrolled in this class, then everything that is associated to where they're meeting will also show up to the student.
Thank you, Ross. And we've taken in some questions, and we will start to answer those. So Melanie asked, will the lower division and upper division filters remain? From schedule.berkeley.edu is our understanding.
So I would use the different values that I showed about how to search by the different criteria, and use the lower than or higher than numbers. So if it, for lower division, just saying is lower than 100 would serve the same purpose as that specific value.
Okay. How will the schedule of classes look once it's posted? And I think the schedule of classes, currently we post the schedule of classes publicly. So the question is really, what is the posting process for schedule of classes, and where will they see it?
So just like those links that are on Cal Central that show the different schedules that are available to advisors, students will also have those links in their Cal Central under their My Academics section to be able to look for those classes. Not until that date will that link show up, and the search will look identical to the search that the first schedule we showed on this webinar.
So as a follow-up from Claudia, the online scheduled classes is now offline. How will visitors and the public see this? If we can't see it, we will lose enrollments. And this is something we are aware of. We're actually in a transition period here where we're building this out so students can enroll, and the online schedule of classes will go public in a couple of months, is my understanding. Yeah. Yes, Ross is saying yes, in a couple of months. We recognize that this is something that visitors and the public need, and we're making sure students can enroll, and then we'll get to that step. I also got a question about, I got lots of questions now. Going back to the class search page, you showed exit/entry classes, Ross. What was that?
So there is a checkbox that says that entry/exit. That is a default value by Campus Solutions that Berkeley won't be using. It's used more for something that would be like extension where people can enter and exit a class whenever they want. We will not be using that functionality. So if someone selected that, their search will come up with nothing because we don't have any classes that fit that.
And several people have chimed in now about the delay in posting the online schedule of classes, and we are working with the faculty on that. We know that faculty care about this. The next question is, if we have questions or additions to the list of enrollment reservations, where do we send them? So if you are an enrollment manager, someone who already is able to edit these things, you may have already been in touch with Doug Au. Doug requests that if you do have questions or additions that you send them to him. But you should be an enrollment manager, someone who actually loads it in order to send that. And then another question related to this is, when do we get access, well, not to modify or add wait lists or add notes or modify reserve caps? We are doing enrollment manager training now. We've got many trainings. And after you go to that training, you will be given access to do those things. Next question, when and how, this is from Laura, do the class exam area details get filled in?
So that is being worked on by the scheduling unit in the Office of the Registrar. Last I've heard, and this is probably a little over a month old, that right now they will not be posting it right in the schedule of classes where the schedule maintenance, the scheduler view that we showed, until later. They will just be directing people to use the online resource of saying what time the class meets to look at when that exam would meet by just looking at the table for my class leads. Tuesday, Thursday at 9. This is the exam time I will have, but the actual run of that probably will not happen until closer to the start of fall.
Okay, and Maria reminds us all that if we are going to explain processes, we should go back to those screens. So let's remember to do that when people have questions about processes. Harumi asks, will concurrent enrollment be in the system?
Yes, concurrent enrollment in the system. Any student who enrolls into the system will need to be enrolling directly into this and be showing as an enrollment in the class. How the details of how that will work are still being figured out, and should be hearing more about that over the summer, about the details of how that's all going to work out.
And actually, I think that is the last question that has arrived. We'll give you another minute to chat in your questions. And if no other questions come in, we will wrap up now. Okay. If you do have questions, feel free to email us at sis-training@berkeley.edu. And thank you for attending this. Janet's going to take us home.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you for your presence and participation this afternoon. And also we look forward to seeing you at the next webinar, which is on the Reporting Center and Query Viewer. And that's tomorrow afternoon from 1:30 to 2:30. And have a great afternoon.